I just want to know where this new information is coming from, not a shuffling of existing information, because you could have a dog population producing more dogs,
I
but
mean,
you're
I
always going
told
to
you
get a dog.
it comes from environmental pressures. You know what I mean? The environmental pressures is what is what cause the new information, quote unquote. That's another word that's loaded. To appear.
Well, I
Like,
mean, it's just it's a shuffling of pre-existing information. So obviously, if it's like, for example, the wingless beetles, on an island, they lost their wings, and now it's beneficial because in their environment, they can survive because the wind's not going to blow them away. But at the end of the day, it's still a loss of information. They lost the information for their wings, so that's still not going to take your fish from to fishermen. Go ahead. Well, that's the discussion, right? The biblical model, we would say that God created, pre-existing differences within all the created kinds. He created significant heterozygosity, right? So with all that allelic variety, we could see a ton of variation based on mutations and natural selection. So we don't need to see new novel information, but evolution requires new novel information. So
okay, have you ever heard? Have you hang on. Have you ever heard of the game of life?
yes, I have.
Okay, now, based on what I remember, is that, like, complexity arose just from a few simple rules that the you know that the you know, that the that you know that the guy made. So why couldn't complexity arise from simple, simple atoms that, hold on, being affected by the four fundamental forces of physics?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can believe that, this
No, hold on,
evolutionary
hold on,
story.
hold on, no, hold on. We have, well, okay, I would say the game of life is kind of a good evidence for that. Like, there were simple rules, simple rules that, that the programmer made that govern the game or the interactions or whatever, that gave
Well,
rise to complexity.
I'm sure it was based on very specific programming and develop. I'm sure there was an information system that this game of life, this program was following. Obviously a single celled organ, because technically for evolutionists, like you're saying, which is good, the ultimate cause of genetic change is mutations. But what I'm saying is the mutation rates, they're going to be too slow, which means the number of differences, say in the organisms, they're large. Okay, so that's, it's too, it won't explain the current diversity. But my point is, with us creationists, like I said, heterozygosity, meaning millions of differences in DNA sequences of chromosome pairs, that was built into organisms from the beginning. So long periods really aren't required for these new species. And that explains all the life we see, this pre-existing heterozygosity. But how do you explain all the life we see? Because I get your analogy, but if it's just acting on pre-existing information, I don't understand how you're going to get your fish to fishermen. Go ahead. Because if you think about starting from heterozygous organisms, visible distinctiveness in offspring, it's going to be apparent. So if you look at recombination, gene conversion, that's going to provide many new varieties of combinations of trees. Are you familiar with Mendel's P experiment?
Well, what, no, explain that. What is that?
Well, because this was around the time of Darwin. So Darwin wasn't familiar with genetics, obviously, right? So Mendel, if you look it up, he and some of the
Oh,
people that
wait,
Young.
hold on. I remember now. That maybe you pronounce it was the, he. Sorry, give me a sec. Yes, Mendel. Mendel is the
He was
one
looking
that,
at traits. Yeah,
yeah,
he was.
plants.
Yeah, yeah. So he noticed that these traits, they remained distinct, right? So they didn't blend. But the thing is, what he was looking at and what he's seen was, recessive versus dominant. So they appeared and disappeared in family trees. They came in these dominant and recessive types. So at the end of the day, Darwin, he didn't understand genetics, but now we see, say with heterozygotic organisms, you can see a variety of traits in a short amount of time, and he's seen that with these peas, these plants. I don't even think Darwin was aware of Mendel's work, and the whole point is it shows that new varieties can come about from pre-existing heterozygotic organisms and change. So that's consistent with creation. I mean, do you believe this type of change is not consistent with biblical creation?
At the end of the day, dude, I don't know. That is the honest truth.
Well,
if you don't, if you can't respect that, then I don't know.
No. I completely respect. I think you're very open-minded, but a lot of evolutionary apologists and defenders that I talk to, they're not exactly open to, I guess, another model, because we're trying to say that this change is due to a sorting out of information, not a gain of information. But evolution would need a gain, or the addition of new genes, say, to encode for heart, lungs, brains. Like, I just don't understand how that's possible. Can you explain it to me?
Nope. At least not currently.
So technically, if dogs produce dogs and elephants produce elephants, that's what we know to be true. To say that they share a common ancestor, that's not exactly science then, given what we know about empirical science, right?
If you say so. Like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that even when I talked to Drag, and he left the conversation very shortly, if we look at genetic entropy, which is that accumulation of the near neutral mutations over time, that's information degradation. So I just don't understand how you're going to get rich by losing money. And evolution would predict these from simplicity, like you said, with the game of life, to more complex organisms. Is that what you would assert happened in the history of life?
Well, I don't assert it. If there's evidence for it. I mean, the four fundamental forces exist. I mean, we have gravity, the weak and strong force, and electromagnetism. I mean, shit. Sorry.
That's okay.
My light bulb is on right now, and it's producing light rays.
I'd like to give a shout out